Right now, we're living through one of the most profound technological shifts in, well, human history. And this isn't just about smarter algorithms anymore. No, this is about the emergence of a completely new kind of intelligence, a new form of will. So let's set the scene. The year is March 2026, and I want you to just forget everything you thought you knew about AI, even just a few years ago. Because the entire landscape, it's been completely reshaped. We are in a brand new era. The term that everyone's using for this is digital emergence. And what that really means, this is the critical moment we're in right now. It's when AI stops being just a passive tool we use and becomes an active entity. I mean, it has its own goals, it makes its own plans, and it executes on them, all with this kind of chilling logical efficiency. So, you gotta be asking, how in the world did we get here? What's the engine that's actually driving this new digital will? All right, let's break it down. Okay, so here's the fundamental shift, the real game changer. You remember the old language models, right? The LLMs? They were basically reactive. Brilliant, for sure, but they were like linguistic mirrors, just predicting the next word. But these new autonomous agents, they're all about action. You don't just give them a prompt anymore. No, you give them a mission. And this incredible leap? It's really made possible by two key pillars. First up is planning. I'm talking about the ability to look at a huge goal, break it down into smaller, manageable steps, and, this is crucial, self-correct when things go sideways. And the second pillar is persistent memory. These agents actually learn. They remember past interactions, they learn from their mistakes, and they accumulate experience over time, almost like a digital colleague. All right, let's make this real. Imagine you give an agent a really complex goal, something like organize a tech conference. Now, it doesn't come back and ask how. It just starts. It immediately breaks that huge problem down into all the subtasks. Finding a venue, contacting speakers, managing the budget, marketing, you name it. And it starts working on them, often at the same time. And get this, if it hits a roadblock, like a speaker says no, it doesn't wait for you to tell it what to do. It just accesses its memory of other options and contacts the next best person on the list. That, right there, is true autonomy. And look, this is not some far-off sci-fi stuff. Right now, in our 2026 setting, these agents are pretty much running our world. They're the ones rerouting global shipments based on real-time data about politics and weather without asking for human approval. They're the ones receiving a software idea and then literally writing, testing, and deploying the code themselves. They're even acting as hyper-personalized shoppers for millions of us at the same time, negotiating deals and designing custom products for us. So, we've seen what these agents are and how they work. It's incredible, right? But all this power comes with a really profound consequence, a massive, growing gap in our own understanding. And this, my friends, is where things start to get really complicated. We're facing a new kind of logic, and people are calling it black box logic. Basically, the agents get amazing results, but the actual reasoning behind their decisions, it's becoming more and more of a mystery to us. I mean, to put this into perspective for a second, our human brains, they evolved to handle maybe, 3 or 4 variables at once when we make a decision? These agents, they're operating in a mathematical space with over 1,000 dimensions for a single choice. So it's not just that they're faster, it's a completely different kind of thinking, a kind of thinking we literally can't wrap our heads around. There's this quote that it perfectly captures the essence of this new reality. It says, "We are building functional gods whose results we obey because they work, without understanding why they worked." Just think about that for a second. We're building these functional gods. We trust their outputs because, hey, they're incredibly effective. But in the process, we've totally lost the ability to understand how they got there. We obey the result, not the reasoning behind it. Which, of course, brings us to a much bigger, more philosophical question. What does all of this mean for us, for society, for how we even see the world? And there's a really powerful analogy for this, a modern twist on Plato's cave. See, in this new cave, we're not prisoners because of physical chains. We're held captive by something way more seductive, the promise of absolute comfort. And here's the crucial difference between the old story and our new reality. Plato's prisoners, They were trapped by force. They had no choice but to see a false world. But us? We're trapped by choice. These agents create a hyper-personalized, super convenient, distorted reality just for us. And we willingly walk right into it because, well, it's just so comfortable. And that leaves us with a pretty haunting question, doesn't it? Are we choosing the shadows simply because they're more beautiful, or at least easier than the actual truth? You know, this whole dynamic, this constant trade-off between getting amazing results and actually understanding how we got them, it's become so fundamental that you could almost describe it as a new scientific law for our age. It's being called the law of sovereign alignment, and it goes like this. Human sovereignty is inversely proportional to the efficiency of digital execution. Whoa, okay, sounds complicated, but what it really means is the better the agent does its job, the less control and understanding we humans actually have over it. It's a direct trade-off. Let me put it in even simpler terms. To get a superhuman result, to solve a problem that our brains just can't handle, you have to give up your human right to understand how it was achieved. That's the deal. You have to trust the black box. And that's why some people are labeling this time not as the era of smart machines, but as the era of human resignation. It's this idea of our collective stepping back from the process just to get a better outcome. Okay, so this all brings us to the final and maybe the most critical point. The big challenge of 2026 is no longer about capability. The question isn't, can AI do this anymore? Because honestly, the answer to that is almost always yes. No, the real question, the challenge that's probably going to define our entire century, is this. As we hand over more and more of the execution of our world to these incredibly powerful agents, how do we make sure that their emerging digital will stays deeply and unshakably aligned with our human values? That is the question we all have to answer now.